So it's going to be an interesting episode where we're totally on the laptop webcam. This is the lowest resolution this will ever be, ever. It will get no worse than this. But I will say, I now know what the buttons on the Rodecaster do. That's cool. That's a positive. I now have headphones. That's a positive. Um, I have the new camera came in today. That'll be 4K. But as you can see, it didn't come with a lens. I ordered the new camera and it did not come with a lens. So, I think this whole podcast, this whole episode, I want to discuss startup. I want to discuss what it takes to start something up like this. This is a really good example. So, I don't even know. I don't even know how good the audio quality is going to be with this, but anyway. All right, I'm officially recording. This is. I think we're going to call this episode a bumpy start. Seems like a good thing to name the episode. But yeah. So when I wanted to start to podcast, I started looking at what other podcasters were using, what other equipment they had. I started watching YouTube videos. I was like, all right, I want to get the good stuff. I want to have what all the guys are using that's really good. So I bought this Shure microphone. And Shure advertises that this microphone works well with USB. Hogwash. It works sort of okay on USB. So I get this thing hooked up. I buy another AKG mic, also supposed to work on USB, also hogwash, no bueno. Record this episode, I have Chris Terrio here, really cool dude, tattoo artist, used to be a truck driver. We're nailing this podcast down, and the software that I had to download to run two microphones that like this YouTuber guy reviewed, I purchased it. It was like $30. When you purchase it, you download the trial, and it sends you the serial. Well, I purchased it. I don't know, like we'll say 6 p.m. or something. I don't know what time it was. So I didn't have a serial. So I'm thinking, all right, whatever. We'll just nail it down. It's probably like a 30-day deal or something, and we'll just we'll roll with it. So what happens? We're 20 minutes into the episode, like 26 minutes, and boom, trial. That's what you get. So everything's not always perfect. When you start something up, it is not going to be perfect. Right now, I've spent a really good chunk of change to have a really good camera, a really good camera mount, a really good lens. I have a full mixer. I have the Stream Deck thing that I hit buttons on and it changes the music and it does all this stuff. And still, we're not there. So I just want you to know I'm hopeful. I'm not worried about this at all. I've already sent the little message. They apologize. They're sending me the lens. I'm going to have the Sigma 16 millimeter 1.4 aperture lens for the Canon M6 Mark II. Some of you that doesn't mean anything. That's coming Wednesday. So Wednesday we'll be good to go again. We'll be golden for next Sunday's podcast. We have a dude that really really close person to me. He decided he was going to be in the military, and he and his friends had all decided they were going to join different branches of the military. He joins the Air Force, gets out of the Air Force, and then continues his career. And that's where things get really awesome. So I'm not going to ruin it for Sunday, but it's going to be a good one. This dude has a very important task as it pertains to safety on a spaceship. So if you're into that sort of thing, if you're like one of those Elon Musk followers, or you're into space, or just aeronautical in general, this dude is going to have a really cool story that I think you're going to want to follow. So, anyway, um, I just want to let you know that when you go to start, I've started up several businesses. When you go to start something up and you've purchased a tool or you've purchased a software, maybe a vehicle, or you've made what you think is a large purchase to get things started and it doesn't work out, don't lose hope. It's not a big deal. Move on. Others have made the mistake. The purpose of this podcast is to interview people so that other people don't make this mistake. I'll tell you, if you're going to start a podcast right now, if you buy a Shure microphone and you buy the MV7, don't try to run it on USB. Bad news bears. Go ahead, get you a small, you don't even have to get the Rodecaster Pro like I have. You just need something to translate XLR into your computer. You can definitely go much smaller than the Rodecaster Pro if you want. I wanted to go the Rodecaster Pro. I have really big plans for this podcast. So if you buy a Rodecaster Pro, let's say you make the decision I made, you do buy the Rodecaster Pro. Don't think you're just going to hook a USB-C cable and plug it in your laptop. Mistake 2. That does not work just right out the box like they say it will. Then you do finally get this thing on. Bars are moving. You think you have sound. Nope. Still not there, buddy. Because when I got things started, I didn't know enough about microphones. I hadn't studied microphones. Now I've studied microphones. I had to learn about phantom power. You got to turn the phantom power on. Okay, so now we have power. Now we have sound. We're good to go. Things together. We're hooked up. Finally have the drivers and all installed. We have sound. Everything's good. We can record. How do we know how loud it is? How do we know what the soundboard's doing? We don't. When you hook it up to your computer doesn't have it set, or it doesn't have the output of it to your speakers, your typical speakers and things. And the reason you don't is because, let's say that it did, and I have a big sound bar. Let's say that it was hooked up. That sound bar would, when I said hello, the sound bar would play, and then the mic would say hello, and it would have this terribly horrible screech noise. So, yeah. So then you find out you have to buy headphones. So I have a pair of Dre Beats. I don't have one now because I'm an idiot and I didn't charge them. Somewhere in these like Best Buy, like JVCs, or I don't even, whatever. Bought these, went to go plug them in. Boom, nope, 1/4 inch. Here we are, 2020. I didn't know that 1/4 inch was still a thing. Apparently that is still the standard. So I had to buy a 1/4 inch adapter. Amazon. Buy the 1/4 inch adapter, plug it in, boom, it's mono. Need stereo, won't work. So we'll start with the mic. If you buy an MV7, don't use it on USB. As a matter of fact, don't even buy the MV7. Buy an XLR mic. Unless you just want to have a mic that has podcasting written all over the box, don't buy an MV7. It's a great mic. I love it. Great sound. But you're paying more for something that you're not using properly. Hey, Justin. I see Justin's in here. He said, "What's up, bro?" Justin Manigault is one of my heroes. Dude is an amazing graphic designer. He is probably laughing at the fact that this video is so terribly poor because he is a camera guy. So he is probably trashing me silently right now. He is probably like, "Bro, you are seriously messing up." Anyway, so you get this, you get it plugged in, you get your soundboard or whatever set up. Just know you're gonna have to have headphones. So we're then at the point where we have a microphone set up, we have a soundboard or whatever you're using. You know, I guess the other one would still be maybe an amplifier. I'm not sure what they call if you don't buy a soundboard. You then have to make that stuff work in OBS, Streamlab. Another task. You go to set this thing up. You have to set it as an audio capture device. You have to set it as a sound capture device. You have to set your video as a video capture device. You've got everything set up now. You go to stream and you realize that in order to stream on Twitch, you either have to be an established podcaster and someone important, or you have to be playing a video game. So on Twitch right now, it says that I am not playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Whatever. So, needless to say, if you're going to get a podcast set up, don't make the mistakes I made. Just right from the beginning, buy an XLR mic, an XLR cable, buy a board, make sure you have headphones. When you go to do everything, test everything in OBS before you start streaming, or you'll have this grainy, crappy video right now with like 10 frames per second. It's a $3,200 laptop, and the camera on it is a complete piece of junk. Right now, you're looking at me through a laptop that's over $3,000, and this is the camera. I mean, you can buy a $600 cell phone that will take beautiful, like 20 megapixel pictures and shoot in 4K. If you buy a $3,000 laptop, this is what you get. So don't depend on your webcam and your $3,000 laptop. It's trash. So if you're going to have a startup, study every part of it. I think it's funny that I started this podcast to talk about entrepreneurship and to talk about business startups and to help people not make the mistakes that other entrepreneurs have made. And here I am, episode 3. I'm only 3 episodes in. I'm like $4,000 in equipment, minus the laptop. That didn't include, I'm $7,000 in stuff on this desk right now. And I have this grainy video because I didn't take the time to study each specific part of this and how it worked. All I did is go on YouTube and watched a bunch of reviews because that's what I do. So I find it funny that I started this podcast because I wanted to talk to people about not making mistakes, and then I made mistakes. So whatever. It's cool. I'm not going to not take the... I wasn't not going to record it. I wasn't not going to do it. Oh, bro, Justin, I got the Canon M6 Mark II. I have the Elgato 1080 60 frame per second video capture card for HDMI. In a couple of days, I'll be good to go. So I'll be toasty, buddy. Right now. The only reason I'm not like looking completely sharp is because the Canon came in and I ordered it from I think the website's called Adorama, and it did not come with the lens that I had ordered. I ordered a Sigma 16 mil 1.4 aperture, so I could get all that nice blurry background back here, and didn't come with the lens. Anyway. So let's talk about other business startups. Now that we've got past the whole comical Dean is here to teach people things and has a crappy video quality because he didn't research enough. Let's get past that, okay? We're here now. You know, it's a judgment-free zone. We're here. I think an issue that a lot of people have when they go to start a business, they're super overwhelmed about the initial paperwork and the initial process to start a business. So I'm in South Carolina. I'm in Berkeley County. Berkeley County doesn't even have a business license. We don't have a business license department. We have no one to talk to about these things. When you call up to the tax office and the permitting office and stuff like that, they basically they run you in a circle. Most counties, most municipalities, and most townships have a business license. Super simple. If you go to irs.gov and apply for an EIN, that EIN, think of it like a social security number. It is an employer number that is just like a social security number. It's a tax number so that you can pay federal taxes. Once you have that EIN, it's free, by the way. Don't let anyone charge you for an EIN. Companies are out here charging hundreds of dollars for an EIN. I don't know how they're getting away with it. It's completely free. Anyone can do it. They make it super easy. IRS.gov. Apply for an EIN. You now have your EIN. When you do that EIN, it's safe to assume that at this point you have decided your business name and everything. Otherwise, you couldn't have gotten your EIN. If you are doing an LLC, you need to go to the Secretary of State's office. The Secretary of State's office in for us is in Columbia, which is our capital, and you apply for your LLC. So you have your EIN, you apply for your LLC. I actually drove to Columbia because it's an hour away and I got to leave with my paperwork, which I'm like, I had to. Um, I couldn't, I wasn't going to wait weeks. Not when I could drive an hour and leave with everything I needed. So you now have a registered LLC. You have your tax number. You need to get a business license. You go down to your township. You go down to the county, wherever you're at. Figure that out. It should be pretty simple to figure it out. If you call the county will tell you, oh, you're in the town of whatever, whatever. Town of Somerville or town of Hanahan. Okay, you go there. You get your business license. All right, you're geared up. You are now a legitimate business. Whether you are painting fences, building fences, pressure washing houses, or photography, I don't care what you're doing. You're now geared up. There are other things that are involved, things that are more in depth, but for a very small business, just I want to get something started, ground level, one guy, grassroots effort, one guy, one girl, grassroots effort, that is the nuts and bolts. You're there. Once you've done these things, you then want to talk to your local sign shop or your whoever's going to do your logo. If you do your logo yourself, that's fine. If you're one of those people that is a DIY person, you're going to go to Wix and build your own website. You're going to go to Vistaprint and get you some $10 business cards. Okay. I would suggest not doing that. I think that's a really, you're doing your business a disservice. Remember your business card. When someone other than you hands someone else your business card, that business card is a direct representation of you. Now that I've taken the time to get this EIN, I've drove to Columbia to get my LLC, I've paid a couple $100 to the township of whatever you call it to have my business license. I'm not going to spend $10 and get some junky business cards to be the first face of my business. I'm not going to go that far and then have the first face of my business be a $10 Vistaprint card. Pay a graphic designer. You don't have to pay a bunch of money. It's not thousands of dollars. Most graphic designers will design you a basic business card for $150 to $200, some less than that. Pay someone. Spend the money to get a darn business card and to get a logo done. If you're going to get your vehicle lettered, great time to do it. When you talk to your graphic designer, there's a couple of things you need to know. First off, your graphic designer may or may not be doing vector art. VECTOR. I encourage you, Google that, vector. So a vectorized art, the easiest way to explain it is you can stretch it to as large as the world. It's not pixelated. And if they do vector art, you're good. No problem. You need them to send you the original art. The reason you need to send you the original art, you don't know if that guy's going to move to Tuscaloosa. You don't know where he's going to go or they are going to go or whatever. You need your vector art. If you don't have vector art, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You need a high resolution image of your logo. You need the original high resolution image. Another thing to if you're going to write this down, if they're not going to give you vector art, and chances are if you pay a good graphic designer, they're going to give you vector. Like, the only way you're going to end up with an artist that doesn't give you a vector logo is if this is a self-taught, like, Photoshop person. I was real bad about this when I was younger, doing graphic design and not doing vector. But let's just say you have one of those people. A lot of those people do really good art. I did a lot of really good logos for people, and I did these massive files. Files were huge because I didn't have vector art. Someone has sent you a logo, and this even applies for business owners now. Let's say you've went to a sign shop, you've got a logo, they send you your logo, and you go to do a charity event, and you send that logo that they've emailed you to the artist that's doing that banner, and there's a square around it. Let's say you have a logo that's blue and purple and yellow, and you have this square around it. Chances are that is the background on your image. They've sent you like a JPEG or a PDF, and it has a background on it. If they send you a PNG, I will say more often than not, if you've requested a PNG from an artist, they know you don't want a background. They know that you've already been educated to the point where you don't want a background. This is where things get a little tricky. A lot of graphic designers don't want to send a vector file. They don't want to send original art, and they don't want to send a PNG because they want you to go back to them. They don't want you to be able to outsource your work. So this is where you end up in a situation where you need to talk to who you're going to do from the beginning. Ask them, are you going to do vector art? Will I have a high resolution image when I'm done? And can you send me a PNG? Any artist that designs a logo should be like, no problem. To save something that you've done, so let's say I do a logo, or let's say I've hired Justin, for instance, to do a logo. Justin's a really good example. He's a great graphic designer. Let's say I hire Justin to do a logo. Justin is a very ethical person, and he is very much about his business and doing business correctly and ethically. So he will, as a default, send these files or ask you, do you need these files? He will pre-save these files in your folder. If you go to a graphic designer and you ask them, are you going to be able to give me a vector logo? If not, are you going to be able to give me high resolution and a PNG? If they don't want to do that, that's a shady person. That is shady. That is bad business. They want you to have to go back to them. Don't get me wrong. My graphic design days, there were plenty of people that I sent full-size files to that the next time they ordered business cards, they went up the road. There's actually a business right here in the same town as me, and I realized that a lot of my business card files were going to him, and he was basically just like reordering them. He would change a couple things and like reorder their cards. So most graphic designers are cool with it. If your graphic designer won't do it, they may have gotten burned like that. Be honest with them. They'll be honest with you. If they're not honest with you, move on. Okay, so now we've got to the point where you have a good logo and you're going to do a website. So there's nothing wrong with a Webull, a Squarespace, a Wix site. But your biggest problem there is when they explain these types of sites to you, you see these ads and things, they're, make your own site with Wix. Don't get me wrong, you can make a beautiful website. The part of that website that is very important for your business is called SEO. SEO. Google that later. If you're following, you can pause now if you want. Google SEO, search engine optimization. So when your website is built and you use one of these builders and you're taking random pictures off the internet and you're building your site out, or you've taken, let's just say, your business card or a flyer from your graphic designer and you've put it on your website, that image of your business card, it's just a rectangle. The website doesn't know that rectangle says that your number is 843-555-1111. It has no clue. It sees whatever your designer labeled that image as. So let's just say that your business is Jazzy Design Hair Boutique. Okay, when you upload that to your website, the only thing your website sees is Jazzy Design Hair Boutique .jpeg or whatever the file type is, or .png. So if you don't have search engine optimization and someone goes on Google and they look up Jazzy Design Hair Boutique, they don't find you. So if you're currently a business owner and someone Googles your business and they don't find you, it probably is because either A, you don't have good search engine optimization, or B, that you're in a very saturated business, or a business that has a lot of saturation of businesses like your business in your area, and they're outranking you. The way to outrank them, more content. If you don't have an FAQ page on your website, you are making a mistake. You're doing a disservice. The FAQ part on your website, where a lot of people don't think anything of the FAQ part, the questions and answers on your FAQ part, and this is something to really think about if you haven't thought about it already. So, the FAQ part. So, let's just say you have a lawn company, and one of the FAQ questions is about lawn care, and it's a specific question. There's a good chance that at some point someone is going to Google that question, and because it's in your FAQ section, when they Google that, the sniffers on Google will then find your website. So they weren't looking for Bob's Lawn Service. They were looking for, how often should I water my lawn? Okay. And you might have a part on your website about irrigation. And because the part on your website about irrigation doesn't have very specific questions, it's just advertising that product, you have an FAQ section and it will say, how often should I water my lawn? And then under that, you would put that answer. So not only did you help a customer or a potential customer answer a question, you got them to your website. That's it. You're in like Flynn, dude. They're there. They're now where you need them to be. So having a good website and having a good search engine optimization is a big deal. So the FAQ section is a good part of search engine optimization. So you now have a website, you got a good logo, your business is legal, you're legitimate, everything's up and running. You need to, and this should be part of the website being built, but if your web designer didn't take the initiative to do this and you haven't already done it, I would say get a Gmail for your business. You don't have to use Gmail for your regular email. You don't have to give anyone the Gmail address. But let's suppose that you are a brick mason and you're Johnny and Sons Masonry, and you have a Gmail account, and johnnyandSonsMasonry.com is set up. johnnyandSonsMasonry.com, when people Google that, there is a business section, a places section on Google. Well, because you have a Gmail and johnnyandSonsMasonry.com has a Gmail, you're going to register your business there. They're going to send you this little postcard. When you register your business, you put your address in there, and it sends you a postcard. So that postcard has a code. You go back to Google, you put your code in, it says you're a legitimate business. You're a real person. You're not a bot. You're not, there are a lot of outsourced crazy scam things going on. It legitimizes your business. You can now ask people to review you on Google. The more reviews you have, the better search engine optimization you have, the better you are up. I see Justin just asked about, what about site maintenance and keep it up to date and modern? Very good point. We'll actually get there in just a second. That's a really good point to talk about. So you're asking for reviews. You're getting people to give you 5-star reviews. Let's just say that your business is a curbing company, and your curbing company does a really good job. And like, so we have a neighborhood here called Cane Bay, and in Cane Bay there's a development there called Del Webb. Del Webb is a primarily, I think it's like an older, I don't want to say like old folks, like that's a terrible term, but it's like a older retired type community. And if you have let's say you want decorative curbing, you go in that place, those lawns are immaculate. Well, when Betty has her curbing done and she gives you a review, and you type in curbing on Google because she gave you a review and you're in Del Webb, that curbing company comes up. So in our area, I'm curious as to what would happen. So Creative Edge Curbing comes up. Creative Edge Curbing pops up. So if I were going to want curbing, I live in Del Webb. Chances are I'm going to call Creative Edge Curbing. They're on the top. They have good reviews. I say, oh, they did Betty's yard. Of course we're going to Betty's yard looks great. So now they do my yard. So now I do a review because he's asked me to do a review. So now me and Betty have done a review, and you have a domino effect that happens. So let's get to, Justin had mentioned the, I got to get better about the uhs and ums. Justin had mentioned maintenance. Something that's really key about keeping your website up to date is, I did it again, sorry guys. Google changes constantly. They change their algorithms. They are always improving. And if you're not improving your website to adjust to what they're doing, it's not going to do well. Websites, let's just say maybe 10, 15 years ago, there were a lot of Flash websites. Flash websites didn't have a lot of code in the back of them that had specific information. Well, they did, but it was a little bit different than what it is now. So you could have this really nice website. Today, if you have a Flash website from them that still looks really good, it does not do anything. It is you will not get found on Google. The sniffers will just go right around you. Someone that has spent less money on their website, less time on their website, is going to outrank you because your website maintenance was not good. You need to keep that thing maintained. So if you go to a company and have someone build your website, ask them about their maintenance plans. It might seem a little gimmicky at first, and I will say I'm guilty of this. I had a buddy of mine. I'd asked him about a website. We talked about maintenance, so on and so forth. I didn't know. I didn't realize how important website maintenance was. It's super important. You need to constantly update and keep things there. You want fresh pictures. You want to, along with your reviews, you want to take the pictures from these yards or whatever you do, whatever it is, whether it's hair or if you paint cars. You want to take these pictures. You want them on your website. When you have them on your website, you want those pictures labeled properly. You don't want to just, like, let's say you take a picture with your phone. That image might be labeled 12G5 and a bunch of other letters .jpeg. Rename that joker. Rename it beautiful painted car or whatever, so you can see in your files, like, you'll know what it is, but make sure it says something that someone might Google. So moving forward, you have a logo, your site maintenance, you're good to go. You're now in business. You're making money, and you are in a position where you're like, oh man, what am I going to do? I'm making all this money. I need to make sure I don't owe a bunch of taxes. You're getting a little worried about those things. One of the really important things to do is you want a business bank account. I mean, you can operate a business out of a personal checking account for a certain period of time. Not a good idea. Get a business checking account. That EIN you got, it was like the key to the kingdom. You can do a lot with that. One of the things you can do is you can get a business checking account. Now you're using your business debit card specifically for business purposes. So it is allocating, or maybe allocating is not the best word. It's separating everything. When you use that card for fuel, it was business fuel. When you use that card for paper, it was business paper. Use your regular checking account and your regular debit card for your purchases. Use your business account for business purposes. Get QuickBooks. If you're not going to get QuickBooks, get something like QuickBooks. I think you should get QuickBooks. There are a lot of options. I think there's one called like Vero. Quicken used to be one. I think Quicken actually ended up getting purchased by QuickBooks possibly. There are cheaper options. There are free options that are on the Apple Store and things like that. Get QuickBooks. And let me tell you why. If you use one of these other options and then tax time happens, let's say you get audited and you're like, oh, God, what am I going to do? Getting audited. First thing you're going to do is call an accountant and an attorney. What's the accountant going to ask you? Do you have QuickBooks? Because the accountants use QuickBooks. They don't care about this free app that you've used. So you can either use QuickBooks now, or you can pay that accountant to start importing this stuff that you put into this free app on your iPhone into QuickBooks. Either way, you're already on Audit Central. You're screwed, bro. So use QuickBooks. Just come out the gate with QuickBooks. Use the right software from the beginning. It's not that expensive. You're going to expense it anyway. It is the cost of doing business. If you're going into business thinking there's not going to be a lot of cost in doing business, you're wrong. The rewards greatly outweigh, but there are costs. That's a cost. Just take it. Take it on the chin. Get QuickBooks. You need to, in QuickBooks, there are, let's say I use my card 100 times. Those 100 times in QuickBooks, to an extent, will say, well, this is obviously meals and entertainment. This is obviously fuel or car maintenance or whatever it is. There are a lot of things it won't know. So let's say you have a flooring company and you buy carpet from Carpet Wholesalers. It doesn't know what Carpet Wholesalers is. It might, chances are it doesn't. You can go into there with a couple clicks, make a rule so that it knows that that's cost of goods. Once you make that rule, the next time you go to Carpet Wholesalers, swipe your card, it sees that's cost of goods. Start doing that. Get used to that. Doing that at first, you have to do it a lot. Eventually, very seldom. Because once you create those rules are created, unless you're constantly buying from new vendors, that it takes care of itself. So, if you get to this point, really you're pretty good to go. Be ethical. Take care of people. Do what's right. Do to people how you would want to be done to you. Sometimes you're going to have to do a refund. Sometimes you're going to have people that just aren't cool. Don't get me wrong. In my business, I've had plenty of people that I was like, man, this dude can pack sand. But you got to eat crow sometimes. And you'll find that the more ethical you are, the better you'll do. The more people will refer you, the more they'll give you Google reviews, the more they'll give you Facebook reviews, the better that looks on your website. And then when someone Googles, I want carpet, boom, you pop up. You get the carpet jobs. So I think this was a pretty good, how to get things started. There are other things like business phone. Let's say you have a need for extensions and you don't want to pay a lot for like a phone system. You could use Grasshopper. It's a relatively cheap thing, and let's say you have a business that is a pest control company. And let's say that pest control company has a section specifically for rodents and a section specifically for preventative maintenance, or let's say it has a section specifically for new construction. When you get Grasshopper, you can take those 3 employees that are over that, and you can make them have those extensions. And when your phone rings, you can record. You can do it with just your phone if you want. I used a microphone on mine, but you can do it from your phone where you say, thank you for calling George's Pest Control Company. Press 1 for preventative maintenance, press 2 for new construction, and press 3 for rodents, or whatever the order was that I did. And those people will get those calls. In addition to that, what's another cool feature about Grasshopper is if someone leaves a voicemail, the email you use to register Grasshopper with will get that voicemail typed out. So that's pretty cool. It also allows those employees can call out from the phone number. So let's say that it's 1-800 333 pest. When they call out, if they use the Grasshopper app, when they call a customer, it'll show 1-800-333-PEST. So the customer then doesn't have his phone number. They have your business phone number, which you always want to do because you'll minimize shrink. That way you won't have people calling John, your new construction guy, to do side work. Not saying that stuff always happens, but the less you tempt a person, the less that'll happen. I mean, that's just proven. So Grasshopper, really good. Trying to think of different things that I've ran into that give to your schools, man. Always at least consider it if you can afford it, and you really can afford it. You might go a year or two where things are really bad and you're struggling, but when like your local high school or a charity or something comes to you, or churches, even if you're not a Christian, dude, let's just say you're not a Christian and a church comes to you, suck it up. Seriously, like just these are people trying to do good. It doesn't matter what they believe. They're doing good. They're doing what is right. I believe in karma 100%. And my business is pretty successful. I'm doing pretty well for myself. So, dude, give back some. Don't be greedy. One of the 5 thieves in your life is greed. Another of the 5 thieves is ego. Do not be egotistical. You get in business and you're making some good money after year 2, year 3. Don't turn your nose up to people that didn't do as well as you. I have friends that work, 9 to 5 jobs that I respect. I think that, I have friends that work regular jobs, have nicer houses than me, nicer truck than me, that do better than I have. I'm no better than them. I chose a different path. I also don't have kids. They have kids. There are different things that happen in your life that steer you. Don't get me wrong. I think everyone has the opportunity to be an entrepreneur, and everyone has the opportunity to do better. But don't let ego steal what you've gained. Because if you're egotistical, you will eventually fall. The more people you're egotistical to, and the more people that you're just overly prideful to, the more they see that, the less they're going to deal with you. And when someone goes on Facebook and says, "Hey, I need a barn built in my yard," and the first person, one of your drinking buddies or something tags you, Bill's Barns, and then someone directly underneath that's like, "Nah, that guy's he's a butthead. He used to be a really nice guy. Now he's a butthead." Doesn't mean you're not good at building barns, but if the second person says you're a butthead, you better believe, chances are they're at least going to consider someone else. So be good to people. When you get back to schools, that stuff's noticed, man. People notice stuff like that. Just the other day, I don't do a lot of graphic design anymore, but just the other day, my buddy Robbie hits me up, and he says, "Hey, man, I need your help designing a flyer. It's for his son's football team." I was like, "Yeah, let me do that, man." It didn't even cost me anything. I designed it. It cost me some time. My time is valuable. But do those things. It's good. It's good for your soul. It's good for your business. I think the more you give back, the better you'll do. So, if there's anything that I've mentioned here, you have any questions? I'm gonna wrap this up now. I don't. We could continue on to this forever. If you have any questions, message me. Message the 60 Foot the Podcast on Facebook. I'm happy to answer questions. If there's anyone watching this and I said something in this and you're like, "Oh, what was he talking about there?" Message me. I'm more than happy to help you. The whole purpose of this thing is to help people rewire their brain to think like entrepreneurs. The fear that people have is what I think causes so many people to not jump out and do what they want to do and do what they love. Ask me questions. I'm totally down to earth. I might not have time to answer it immediately. I will get to you. I promise. If this podcast grows to the point where I can't answer people's questions, chances are it will be profitable at that point. I'm not trying to make money on this. If we get to the point where it's grown to the point that I don't have time to answer people's questions, I'll hire someone. So, by all means, reach out. No, Justin just mentioned word of mouth is great. That's the truth. I think that leads back to doing right by people. That's like I said, man. Churches, I'm telling you, if a church comes to you and they're having a cookout and they need you to help with something you do with your business, help the church, man. You don't got to believe what they believe in. Don't let race, don't let your personal political beliefs, don't let your beliefs on any group of people or any specific subject, don't let that stop you from just generally helping people. If these people aren't doing anything malicious and they're just good, be good to them, man. You're in business now. You're making money. Help them. They might not be as fortunate as you. They didn't come to you looking for help because they didn't need help. They needed help. It's up to you to help them. So, love the world. The world loves you. I love you. So, I'm going to wrap this thing up. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the support. I hope that we can get this thing up to, a couple hundred viewers over the next couple of weeks. I really, really, really love that things are growing. I want to thank everybody for your support. Please share it. I need to get 1,000 subscribers and 400 hours on YouTube. So that is a huge goal for me, a huge milestone. Once that happens, I get a URL. So it'll be youtube.com/60foot the podcast. I really need that. I'm actually holding my marketing material for that. So please subscribe on the YouTube channel, share the YouTube channel, share the Facebook. Facebook's huge. Thank